The benefits of trauma. Benefits of trauma. Let's think about that for a moment. Now, what good could possibly come from trauma? Well, let's look at it. What is trauma? Trauma is, in some way, the experiencing or witnessing of events that have a potential to change you. The effects of trauma are different for different people, and I want to explain why, but first, I want to do a little exercise with all of you. I'm going to list a number of traumas. If you have a pen and paper, jot down the events you feel are really traumatic. Write down the number of the event and rate the trauma from 1 to 10. 1 being the lowest value or least traumatic, 10 being the highest value or extremely traumatic. Here we go. 1. Physical abuse. 2. Sexual abuse. 3. An accident where you could have been hurt. 4. Night terrors. 5. Loss of a spouse. Just write down the number that I'm saying and the trauma rating that you would give it. 6. The rent check bounces. 7. Loss of a child. 8. Hail shreds your prize roses. 9. Held up at gunpoint. 10. You've seen someone change with an illness. 11. You lose your job. 12. Someone you love is charged with hate crimes. 13. You have to move. 14. Bankruptcy. 15. You're falsely accused. 16. Your credit card gets canceled. 17. You watch your pet die. 18. You know that your pet died, but you didn't watch it happen. 19. You know that someone that you really love, their pet died. And 20. Your cousin throws up on your new suit. Did you find that there was more of a charge with some of these topics than with others? Well, most people do. Why is that? They're all traumatic events. We want there to be a hierarchy in pain when it comes to trauma, that some things warrant our emotion more than others. But really, one event is not more traumatic than another. There's no hierarchy, but there is a difference. So what's the difference? It is the first benefit to trauma. Coping skills. If you found that you gave different numbers to the different events listed, then you've already reaped some of the benefits of trauma. Coping skills allow you to see things in different magnitudes. And they are vital to our well-being and our survival. Coping skills are not the same as numbing out. They help you to understand the events on a higher level and process the emotion around the event until it's manageable. Now, I haven't found even one person that while experiencing trauma says, oh my, this is good. I am just so looking forward to all these coping skills that I'm going to get during this event. But how unbearable would life be without any coping skills? We need them. And how else do we acquire them but to go through trauma? I'm going to tell you a little about my Sacred Heart's journey, as my story was about trauma. My childhood was quite traumatic, and through the years after, I knew that I was repressing something. A memory would appear, then be cut off, then appear at the same place and be cut off in the same place over and over. Even though I went through therapy to try to reveal it, I wasn't able to get the full picture. So when I was 52, I was living in Salt Spring Island with a new romantic beginning and on path with what I felt I was to do. And Brenda Hammond, a friend of mine, came to me and asked if I would consider writing a story in her compilation of stories. I had no idea what I would write about, but of course I said yes. And I sat down to write one failed story after another failed story. My partner suggested that I write a story that I had told him about the time that I knew that I would never allow anyone to physically harm me again. And I thought that was a good story, so I started to write. And then it hit. the more I was working with the story, the deeper I got, and the deeper and the deeper, until it cracked wide open. So here's another benefit before I go too far to trauma, which is the ability to repress, or that preservation, or to put it away until such time as you have the tools to better understand and heal through it. So I write my story, and if you want to know more about that story, you can purchase the Sacred Hearts Rising book, Breaking the Silence, one story at a time. And for those who don't know, repressed memories, when they reveal, are almost as traumatic as when it happened. The first and natural instinct is to put it back. No, that didn't happen. That couldn't have happened. But it did happen. And I had been looking for this, so I had to resist stuffing it away again. I had to remember that I had more tools to cope and deal with this than I did when I was 8 years old. I made myself look at it again and again until it wasn't as sharp. Then I kept looking. At this point, I'm looking for the greater purpose, for how it formed me, even though I was seemingly unaware of it. When this was happening, all along this processing, months were going by, and I was having trouble on the outside world talking to people about anything. There were only a few people that I trusted that could handle the story so that I could finish processing through it. I knew the impact of trauma and what it might have on someone else. Another benefit to trauma is when you've had enough of it, you can see clearly who's strong enough to handle hearing about your story and who isn't. It's a type of insight. The more I looked at it, the deeper I could look at it. The ability to process deeply. That is the next ability from trauma. I could have stayed in that place feeling victimized, like this shouldn't have happened, and continued to play out all the alternative patterns where these events didn't happen. If only this wouldn't have happened, then I could be rich or happy or healthy. I could have stayed angry with this couple for taking my childhood away from me and almost killing me. I could have stayed angry with my mother and father for leaving me to endure this, as if they knew that this was going to happen. These were places that I thought I wanted to stay, but what good comes from that? How does that benefit me? Now, the fifth benefit that I want to talk about is forgiveness. This isn't about forgiving your offenders. This is actually about understanding the process of forgiveness. And you can't really understand the process of forgiveness unless you go through something where you need to forgive. So as a healer, I've learned that everything happens for a reason. I needed to learn how to forgive. I needed to learn by having something so traumatic happen to me that it was hard to even think about forgiveness. But not forgiving was harder on me. Another benefit of trauma is that you can grow your spiritual belief system. So, if you've gone through trauma and you're still wondering what on earth could possibly be a benefit for you having to endure such an event, I want to offer another exercise. You have changed for the better since the event happened. Is there a word that might express your growth? I'm going to give you a few words. Feel free to embrace one of these or create your own. These are words that you might use to explain where you've come from the time of the traumatic event to now. What have you learned about you that's amazing? Is it strength? Did you find your strength, your independence, your resilience, your flexibility? Are you forgiving? Are you kind now? Did you find compassion? Did you open an intuitive vein? Did you get closer to spirit? Are you more accepting? Do you fight now for what you believe? Do you know what you want? Are you braver? What's your word? Find your word and make an imaginary sign that states what you've learned. that you wouldn't have learned how to be whatever that word is without the experience that you went through. So let's recap the benefits of trauma. The first benefit is coping skills. The second benefit is the ability to repress these situations or the memories until you have more tools to heal, learn, grow, and understand. The third is an ability to gain insight, to see where other people are. The fourth is the ability to process deeply. The fifth is forgiveness, understanding really what forgiveness means. The sixth is spiritual belief systems and getting them online for you. Trauma presents an ability for us to be more, and you will grow more than you ever could without the experience. So spend some time feeling the gratitude of your ongoing strength, how far you've come, what you've endured, and how amazing you truly are. Celebrate today. You're beautiful. You have undergone something traumatic to learn this hidden information about yourself. Don't let it go to waste. Embrace it, and you're magnificent you.